Howdy, welcome to my game tutorial of Overachieving TCG version 2.0. And this is a card game where I created where each player have a minimum deck of 20 cards, and you battle it out, and whoever has the higher power at the end of the game wins out of the 3 rounds. Now let's get started. First up, you need an area which each player should have, and they should let each other know that their area is a 6x2. So there will be 6 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 rows. So this is your prey area. My camera's kind of small right now, so I'm unable to show it on the camera, but this is your prey area. It is a 6x2. Alright. To get started, each player should have a deck of 20 cards. Now, note how I said it is a minimum of 20 cards, because there's no maximum for now. That could change in the future. Each card you can have up to 3 copies of. Like for the Innkeeper, there's 3 copies. You are not allowed to have more than 3. And there are legendary cards, as you can see indicated by the legendary name at the bottom. You can only have 3 legendary cards in your deck, and you can only have 1 copy of each legendary. So 2 of these is a no, but I can have 3 of these legendary cards. That is okay. I cannot have a 4th legendary. Alright, now let's get this started, shall we? Now, each player with their deck will shuffle. And then place it somewhere within easy reach. I will place right there. And then their opponent will of course do the same, and will place their deck right here. Of course, you will leave a space for the discard pile. I will put this area as my discard pile. Alright, now you would have to determine who would be the first player, either by rock, paper, scissors, or rolling a dice. For example, let's grab a dice. Let's go for a D8. Why not? So I will roll. Well, that's how my luck goes. And then the opponent will roll a6. So since my opponent rolled the highest, they get to choose who goes first. They would choose me to go first. Why not? And now, after the first player is determined, each player will draw their 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, that's just a nice draw. And then you would get to look at your hand, which is pretty nice. Now, each player has 1 mulligan. How that works is that you would choose the cards you don't want in your hand. Let's say that one. You will set them aside, draw back up to 7 cards, and then you would take the card that you set aside and then your deck, and then you just shuffle them. Easy as that. Alright. Now, we begin the game. At each of your turn, you can do the following. You can choose a card from your hand and play it. This is also called deploying a card. you can deploy a card in any of your battlefield. Let's say I will place it here. Of course, you will need it to be known where your battlefield is in each column. So let's just do something like this. This would be the columns. This is just a health token, which I will use for damage and all that. I'll place it here. Now, when you deploy a card, you will go from left to right, which is quite easy. Since I deploy this on the top row, we will care about the top energy and then the top power. How this works is that when I deploy this card, I will gain 2 energy. I will use this to indicate my energy, and then we will have the deploy ability. Ally units you deploy adjacent to this card in this row gains 1 max power. So for instance, in a later turn, if I deploy this card, instead of getting 1 power, I will get 2 because this gains +1 max power because of this card. Now, if a unit says when deployed, like this card I showed, you get to have a choice if you want to use this ability or not. Sometimes using a deploy ability might harm you, which is why you have a choice. Now we finally go to the power. This, it will give me 1 power, so we will indicate the power by this dice. Why not? The power of the unit is basically their health and your score of how you win. At the end of the turn, when the player declares the end of turn, whoever has the highest power wins the game. That is how this game works. Alright. Now, let's talk about the blue text. This is called an ultimate. As you can see here, the number, which is 2, that is how much energy that is required to use this ultimate. So for instance, in my turn, if I want to use a ultimate instead of deploying a card, I will pay the cost, which is 2, and then I will exhaust it to indicate that I have used the ultimate. So for this ultimate, it will deal 1 damage to the front enemy in the opposing row. That means that it will deal 1 damage to the first enemy in the opposing column. I meant to say column down that row, whoops. If there was an enemy in the back row, the first enemy is in the back row, so it will hit the enemy in the back row. That's how that works. Nice. And now another option is spending 3 energy to draw a card. And then the 4th action is ending the round. How this works is that when the player declares the end of the round, each other opponent has 1 more turn, and then after their turns, this round ends, and whoever has the most power at the end of the round wins this round. This game is a 2 out of 3 match. Whoever wins 2 out of 3 matches is the winner. Now remember, when it's your turn, you get to choose only 1 of these actions. To deploy a card, use their ultimate, draw a card, or declare the end of round. You cannot skip your turn. So if you want to skip your turn, you would just end your round. But if you're not winning, that's not a good idea. Alright. And that is how the game goes as of right now. And now let's set up a example game. Let's continue from here. I will play Christine. I will gain the 2 energy. This does not have a deploy ability, but it is like a passive ability. And then we'll gain the 1 power. Alright, and now I'll pass it on to my opponent. Now, my opponent will play Akai. First, they will gain the 2 energy. We'll use this dice for their 1. Then we'll choose if we want to do deploy ability. When deployed, they deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the front row ignoring shields. We would deal 1 damage to Christine. And now we will check. Since Christine only have 1 power and it dealt 1 damage to it, there will be 0. When an ally has 0 or less, they will be destroyed, meaning they will go to the discard pile or graveyard. And now we will fix the power. Since we have 0 in our field, we don't have any power, which means our score is 0. And they will gain 1 power. And let's use this dice as their power. And now it goes back to me. And now I am going to play Kudo. Now when deployed, this unit gives me no energy, but this unit will take 1 less damage, and my opponent cannot target an ally unit behind this unit. So that is some good protection, and it has 2 power. So my score would be 2. Alright. I'll pass the turn to my opponent. My opponent will play Cassie. They would play it right here. They would gain 1 energy. It has an effect. When this unit would be targeted, you may exhaust this unit to move this unit 1 space. When the unit moves 1 space, they can only move to an adjacent space. Down, left, up, or right. They cannot move diagonally. And you cannot move to the enemy's battle phase. And there's a special effect in the card that says that. And they will gain 2 to their score. Now when I say gain 2 to their score, the score is basically their current power. You don't need to keep track of this every time, but it is really helpful to do it. So you and your opponent will know how much score you have. And now that will be passed on to me. I am going to play Mikumi the First. That will give me 2 energy. I will activate its deploy ability. When deployed, it will deal power damage to an enemy unit in the opposing column. Now this means the current power of this card. Some unit cards have an ability that increases a unit's power. So this can be very helpful. Since its power is only 2, I will deal 2 damage to an enemy unit in the opposing column. I can choose this one or this one. However, since my opponent only has Cassie, I will deal 2 damage to it. So this will be gone. And now I'll get 2 power. Notice how I go from left to right. That's how it works. So when you deploy a unit, you will check for the effects, gain the energy, choose who you want to deploy the ability if you want, and then check the power. That's it. And with that, my turn is over. Alright, let's see here. Now, we are going to, my opponent's going to play this card, gain 1 energy. It has a deploy ability. They will choose to do it. When deployed, deal 2 damage to an opposing spot. The opposing spot is the exact spot in the opposing side. So this opposing spot would be this one. So it will deal 2 damage to Micrometer first, which brings it to 0. So it's destroyed. We will lose that to power, and then my opponent will gain 2 power. Alright. Now, I am going to play Barina. I will gain 1 energy. It has a deploy effect. I am going to choose to do it. When deployed in the front row, I can deal 2 damage to a front enemy unit. I am going to deal 2 damage to this one. So this will be defeated. I will their score by 2, and I will gain 2 to my score. And with that, that will be the end of my turn. Now, they are going to play Miki. They will place it here. When played, they will gain 2 energy. And they will choose to do the deploy ability. When deployed, move an adjacent ally unit 1 space. Since they place it here, they will move this unit 1 space. They will move it to the back. They will gain 1 power. And notice, Aki had moved from the front to the back. Aki's front power is 1, but in the back, she has 2. That means she has gained 1 power to the score. So now they have 3 score. Movement is another way to move your units to their powerful side. And now that would be back to me. Alright. I am going to use the action to spend. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I'll spend 3 energy to draw 1 card from my deck, and that will go to my opponent's turn. My opponent is going to do the same thing. And draw their card. And now it would be passed to me. I am also going to play my own Miki. I will place it down here. And now that will grant me 2 energy. And with deployed, I can move an adjacent ally 1 space. I will move Kuno to the only space available. And I will gain 1 to my score, and that will be my turn. And now my opponent is going to play Nana. And we are going to place it in the back right here. It will give them 2 energy. Deploy effect will do. They will gain 2 more energy and 2 power. My turn. And now I will make a big play. I will play Madden right here. I will gain no energy, but it has a passive ability. For each adjacent ally unit, this unit gains 2 power. So Madden will gain 2, 4, 6. And it's 1, so that'll be 7. So that will bring me to 12 score. Look at that. Now that is a powerful card. My opponent will see this and panic. Now, my opponent will play this card right here. It will gain 2 energy. That brings it to 9. If it deployed, it will deal 1 damage to all enemy units in the opposing row. It will deal 1 damage to each of these units. It will deal 1 damage to Madeline and 1 damage to Mickey. That will lower my score by 2. Remember, the score is your current power. So whenever they take damage, their power lowers. When the power lowers, your score lowers. And they will gain 1 power. Now, back to my turn. I see that I have 10 power total right now. So my score is 10, my opponent's is 6. I am going to play Miracle the Empress. I am going to play her right here at the bottom row. That will give me only 1 energy. When deployed, the target unit takes 2 damage or heals 2. I am going to choose to do 2 damage, and I am going to do 2 damage to this one back here, which has 2. So that will be defeated. Their score will get lowered by 2, and my score will get up by 3. Now I will have 13 to my score. And that would be my turn. During my opponent's turn, they are going to think. We are going to use Nana's ultimate ability. We are going to spend 4 energy. So that'll be 2x, and since 4, it's paid 2 times, which means it will deal 2 damage to a target enemy unit. We will tap it to indicate we have used their ultimate, and we will deal 2 damage to Kuno. Kuno has been defeated, so we will lose the 2 from Kuno, and we will lose the 2 from Madeline because that ally unit is gone. So we will go down to 9. And now it is back to my turn. We do have Mickey, however, if my opponent defeats this card, I will lose 1 more power. Since she only has 2 power and already taken the damage, I will lose 1 power and 2. I will lose 3. I am going to spend 3 of my energy to activate Madeline's ultimate. By paying 3, this unit will gain 1 max power for each adjacent ally unit. Right now, we have 2 adjacent units to Madeline, so this will gain 2 max power. I will use this dice to indicate its max power that it gained. So that means this would be increased by 2, since Madeline has gained 2 max power. And now it will be back to the opponent's turn. The opponent knows that they are very far behind, but the 2 extra powers from this passive ability. So if they can get rid of these 2, its power would be lowered by quite a bit. However, they don't have the cards needed in their hands. So let's see if they can do anything. Oh, yes. They are going to spend 4 energy to use this ultimate. By paying 4, it would deal 1 damage to all enemy units in the opposing row. For each unit hits this way, your opponent will lose 1 energy. He'll tap it to indicate it has been used. It would deal 1 damage to each enemy in this row. Nova was powered by 2, and since 2 enemy units has been hit, I will lose 2 power energy. So I have no energy now. And now it will be back to my turn. I have 1 card left. My score is 5 above, but these 2 is at 1 health, so that could be a problem. If my opponent gets rid of 1, that will be -2 and a -1, so I'll be going down to 6. And my opponent only needs a 3. If I end my turn right now, I think that is too much to give up right now, so I am going to play my own conundrum. I will place it right here. That will allow me to gain 2 energy, the 2 that I lost, and with its deploy effect, I will deal 1 damage to all enemy units in the opposing row. I will deal 1 damage to these 2, and since they both have 1 power, they both are destroyed. And they will lose 2 power, and I will gain 1 power. Since my opponent now will see that they are very far behind and they are unable to really catch up, they have decided to end their round. So now I have 1 more turn. However, seeing the board state, there's no reason why I would do anything else, so I will also end my turn. Since each player has declared the end of the round, we will check who has the higher power. Since I have higher power, a 10 against a 2, I have won this round. And now we will go to the cleanup phase. Every card on the field will go to the discard pile of their owner's discard. However, the cards you kept in hand, I have no cards in hand. However, my opponent has 2 cards. They will keep those cards for next round. Now, when the round ends, everything, as you see, will be removed from the field and go to their respective discard piles of their owner's cards. And then we will draw back to 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we will begin the next round. Now, the mulligan rule also affects And now each player will look at their hand, choose the cards they want to mulligan. I will be setting aside these 3 cards, and I will draw 3. And I will shuffle these back to the deck. And to save time, my opponent will keep their hand. And now, the player who lost goes first. However, here's the thing. Get to draw an extra card. And now the game begins again. You will keep going until one player has won 2 rounds. Now, when your deck is emptied, you cannot draw any more cards unless there's a card to put cards back to your deck from the discard. Future. Let's say a next round begins and you have 3 cards and you have to draw up to 7. You will need to fight the next round with those cards left in your hand. So if you are lucky, you might win with 3 cards in your hand. So it's up to you. Now we'll go back to the deck building rule. There is a minimum of 20 cards. You can add more, which means if you go past round 2, you will have more cards. However, the less cards you have, the better chance of drawing the cards you really want in your hand, and maybe to win 2 rounds. That is Overachieving TCG. Thank you for watching. There will be a higher quality version of this tutorial in the future if it gets more support. But for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.